Get ready for 10 true stories that will leave you speechless. These tales will shock, inspire, and move you. Stick around till the end, because number 6 is one you won't believe. Let's get started. 1. The boy who sat alone. Every evening at 6, he'd arrive holding a crumpled photograph. People passed by, some stared, others ignored him. One day, an old lady sat next to him and asked, "Why this spot?" He replied softly, "This is where I last saw my sister." The woman looked at him with sympathy, but instead of walking away, she quietly asked him more. As it turned out, his sister had gone missing years ago. He'd been sitting there every day, hoping for her to return. He'd never given up on her. The old lady stayed with him for an hour, quietly listening to his stories, never once interrupting. That evening, something shifted. The boy felt less alone. 2. The homeless man who won the lottery. Everyone looked down on him. He was always in the same spot, huddled against a lamppost, asking for change. He barely spoke, and his clothes were ragged. But then one night he walked into a small diner. People didn't pay him much attention as he ordered a coffee. But when the waitress handed him the bill, he pulled out an old envelope and placed it on the counter. Inside, a winning lottery ticket. $2 million. His hands shook as he held the ticket, his eyes wide in disbelief. Instead of pocketing the money, he turned to the waitress and said, "I'd like to pay for everyone who's ever helped me." He paid for the meals of every person in the diner, and when the bill was cleared, he left without saying a word. The next morning, the news spread like wildfire. A homeless man had won the lottery and paid it forward. 3. The little girl's secret. Every night, the little girl would leave her house and walk through the quiet streets, disappearing into the darkness for exactly 1 hour. Her parents never questioned it until one evening they followed her. They quietly trailed her down the street and into an abandoned house at the edge of town. The door creaked open as the little girl entered, and they peeked through the cracked window. An elderly man stood inside, smiling warmly at her. She pulled out a small basket of food and handed it to him. He hugged her tightly, whispering something in her ear. It turned out the man had been the one who had taken care of her when she was lost many years ago. Since that day, she had visited him every night to ensure he was okay. Their bond was a quiet one, built on love and trust, a promise she kept every single day. 4. The boy who failed on purpose. The boy was smart, really smart. He had the highest grades in his class and could have gone to any school he wanted. But there was a problem. His best friend. His best friend struggled in school, often falling behind, and the boy couldn't bear the thought of being separated from him. So, he did something strange. He deliberately failed every test. He didn't answer the questions as he knew he could. He even pretended to misunderstand instructions. When his friend asked why, the boy simply said, "If I do too well, they'll split us up into different classes." He didn't want to leave his friend behind. For years, he kept up the act, hiding his intelligence all to stay by his side. His friend never knew the sacrifice the boy had made, but it didn't matter. They remained inseparable. 5. The teacher's daily stop. Every morning before school, the teacher would stop at the same graveyard. He'd walk to the farthest corner where an old gravestone stood. The grave was that of his former teacher, the only one who had ever believed in him when no one else did. As a child, he had struggled in school, constantly pushed to the side, and often mocked by others. But his teacher had seen something in him. She encouraged him, took the time to understand him, and helped him unlock his potential. Years later, after she passed, he became a teacher himself, teaching others the same way she had taught him. Every morning, he visited her grave to thank her. He never spoke a word to anyone about it, but it was his way of honoring the woman who had changed his life. 6. The boy who kept his promise. The boy found the dog on a cold winter night. He was walking home from school when he saw the small, trembling creature huddled in the alley. The dog's fur was matted, and it looked as though it hadn't eaten in days. Without hesitation, the boy picked it up and carried it home. He didn't have much, but he shared what little he could. His family wasn't wealthy, but they welcomed the dog with open arms. Over the years, the boy and the dog became inseparable. As he grew older, he saved enough money to take the dog to the vet, giving him the care he'd always needed. The dog lived a long, happy life, and every year on the dog's birthday, the boy would take him to the park and reflect on the promise he'd made that cold winter night. That no matter what happened, he would never leave him behind. 7. The woman who changed a life. She was just a waitress, working long shifts to make ends meet. Every day, the same customers came in, sitting at the same booths, ordering the same meals. But there was one man who stood out. He always came alone, sitting in the back corner, staring out the window as he sipped his coffee. One day, the waitress noticed he hadn't ordered. She went over to ask him if everything was okay. The man looked up, his eyes filled with tears, and he confessed that he was planning to end it all. He had lost everything and saw no way forward. The woman didn't hesitate. She sat down next to him, quietly listening, offering comfort. She didn't judge him. She didn't push him to talk more than he was ready. That simple act of kindness changed the man's life. He didn't go through with his plan. Instead, he came back to the diner every day, sitting in the same booth, but now with a little more hope. 8. The couple's last dance. They had been married for 50 years. The couple had lived through ups and downs, joys and sorrows, but they had always remained together. On their 50th wedding anniversary, they decided to dance under the stars. It was a quiet evening. The only sound, the soft rustle of the wind and the music playing faintly in the background. They danced as though no time had passed, as if they were the same young couple who had first met all those years ago. As they finished their dance, the husband whispered in her ear, "This is all I need." A few weeks later, he passed away in his sleep. His wife, though heartbroken, smiled through her tears, knowing that their last dance was enough for a lifetime. 9. The girl who wasn't afraid. When the fire broke out in her school, most of the students panicked, running in all directions. But not her. She calmly stood up, looked around, and guided her classmates out of the building. She didn't shout, didn't rush anyone. She simply made sure everyone was safe. When the fire department arrived, they were amazed at how composed she had been. She was just a kid, but in that moment, she was more than anyone could have expected. Later, when asked what made her so calm, she simply said, "I just didn't want anyone to be scared." 10. The stranger who paid it forward. She was at the store, struggling to pay for her groceries. The total was higher than expected, and she didn't have enough money. She stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do, when the man in line behind her spoke up. He said, "I'll cover the difference." At first, she didn't understand. Why would he help? They didn't know each other. But the man smiled and said, "It's a small thing, but I've been in your shoes before." He paid for her groceries, and as she walked out of the store, she promised to pay it forward someday. And she did. A few months later, she helped a woman in need, and the cycle of kindness continued. There you go. 10 incredible stories of real-life heroes, kindness, and shocking moments. Which one hit you the hardest? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more amazing true stories every week.